Hello, and welcome to this first full moon of 2026. The full moon in Cancer, when care becomes a cage, the Mother Archetype unveiled. So, we're working with the shadowy aspect, the shadow of the Mother Archetype. So, first and foremost, I want to be very, very clear that this in no way, shape, or form is meant to shame anybody, make anybody feel badly about themselves, make anybody feel like I'm judging you or anybody, okay, in any way, shape, or form. I think I already said that, but it bears repeating. Okay, number one. Number two, this video has nothing to do with you actually being a mother. It doesn't matter how you identify gender-wise, okay? Number three, maybe that's all. Maybe there were just 2 points. Archetypes. They really are just a pattern of thought or characteristic within the collective psyche. Some people resonate really strong with certain archetypes. Some people may not resonate as strongly. So you might have some of the characteristics, you might be like, wow, I really resonate with this. Okay. It's really kind of dependent upon you and just where you fall. It doesn't, again, not right or wrong, not good or bad. It's just what is. Okay. It's just a part of life. So I think that disclaimer hopefully clears things up. If it didn't, I'm sorry. Okay, let's get into it. So, as I've mentioned, this first full moon is in the sign of Cancer. And with Cancer, we kind of are stepping into these more emotional realms, right? To me, and maybe many others, Cancer is represented as, archetypally speaking, as the mother. Okay. Now, with every archetype, there are light attributes and there are shadow attributes. That is the duality of life. Everything has a light, everything has a shadow. Cancer itself, the sign, has a light and a shadow. Capricorn has a light and a shadow. That's everything. Okay. This is the part of you who loves without measure, and hear me out. Sometimes at the cost of your own soul. Sometimes you can love someone so much that it comes with a price. It comes with a very, very, very hefty price. And I don't know about you, but I've been there. Again, this isn't about judgment. I know that I have loved, and it has sucked the life out of me loving the wrong person. Not saying they didn't deserve my love. It's just that they didn't see it. They couldn't appreciate it. They didn't value me. And as much as I wanted them to, and as much as I thought, hey, if I love them even more, maybe they will, maybe they'll value, maybe they'll see it, right? They never did. So at the end of the day, it was a very toxic thing. And it's ended up, draining the life out of me. And I look back at pictures of myself during that time and I'm like, wow, that was really unhealthy. I had a lot of apologizing to me to make up for that, but we'll get into that in a minute. So, as you may also know, we are currently sun-wise in the sign of Capricorn. And to me, Capricorn's more like the matriarch, okay? And Capricorn reminds us of duty and structure and all of the pressures that turn nurturing into obligation and devotion into depletion. So this is where care can become the cage. So with Capricorn being the matriarch, this can create tension with Cancer as the mother. And then this is where Cancer splits into its shadow side. So now we are going to talk about Cancer's light and shadow attributes. Hey, so a couple of things before we get into the light and shadow attributes of the mother. I did forget to mention a couple of things at the intro. I was just so excited. So I will be pulling us some cards. I'm going to pull us a card from my Goddess Cocktail Oracle decks. I call it my Goddess Cocktail Oracles because I combined some to make one big goddess cocktail. And then also from my Goddess of Love Tarot to get us some cards about, like, you know, how we can fill up our own cups this full moon. So there's that. I do also have journal prompts. Shocking, I know, to some of you. If you've been a follower of this or part of this channel for a while, then you know that I loves me some journal prompts. Whether you actually do them or not is totally up to you, but they're there and they're coming. Okay, so be ready. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, let's talk about the mother archetype, light and shadows. I will be saying she. Again, this isn't about gender. This is more energy. Okay, take it as it resonates. All right. The mother archetype isn't just the mom. She is nurturer. I didn't mean to put that in quotes. If you've ever seen Friends, when Joey's like telling Ross, like, I don't really know what this means. Okay, sorry. She is nurturer, protector, emotional hearth, keeper of lineage, the holder of everyone's everything. But in her shadow, she becomes the martyr, the overgiver, the emotional pack mule, and I am going to use this correctly, the good girl. Okay. Under this full moon, we are unclenching her fists, loosening her emotional load, and calling her back to herself. So let's talk about the core shadows. These are the emotional patterns that can flare under the Cancer moon, especially under Capricorn's pressure cooker. So I do love Capricorn, by the way. It's very structured, kind of a sign, likes things a certain way. Okay, they're very disciplined. My Mars is in Capricorn. My masculine energy is in Capricorn. So my Venus, my feminine energy is in Sagittarius, very free, freedom loving. My masculine definitely keeps her in check. All right, but it's needed. I need that because otherwise, I think I might be a little too free spirited. Anyway, but Capricorn's, you know, structure sometimes I think with Cancer's more emotional, watery self can maybe feel a little too hard. You know, I don't mean like hard, like difficult. I mean like hard energy. So that can create that, I don't want to say burden, but that's kind of the energy I'm picking up on. It's like a burden almost, right? So the first one is the martyr. This is an energy of I give and I give and I give and I give. Now, sometimes we overgive, quietly hoping to be seen, valued, or loved in return. This usually is like an unconscious, completely unconscious manipulation. Okay, it's not. I think when people are aware that they're doing this, they are just like, oh my God, I can't believe I've been doing that. I think when people become aware of it, right? But and it's a wound. This is a wound. It's from your childhood, a childhood wound where they weren't seen. They weren't maybe loved out loud. Maybe they weren't valued or cared for in the way that they should have been, right? So they think the more that they love, the more that they give, the more that they do this, there's a quiet hope or expectation that the person's going to give back to them in a way that they're hoping for. I don't know quite how else to word that, right? But then when they're not given that back, their expectations aren't met, then the disappointment sets in, the anger sets in, the frustration sets in, and it's a problem. It can become a problem, right? It can become a problem in their relationships. So that's one shadow side of the mother archetype is the martyr. Another shadow side is the emotional sponge. You absorb everyone else's feelings, but ignore your own. So sometimes you can take on everybody's feelings, and then you're so focused on that, you either don't know how you feel most of the time, or you know how you feel, but you don't give it any attention or care. And then you have another shadow aspect of the good daughter or the good woman, which is where you stay soft and agreeable and accommodating even when it hurts. So, your feelings are hurt, something happens, whatever the case may be, but you don't speak up, you don't say it, you don't, because the conditioning is being a good girl, good woman, right? You don't say it, you don't say anything. The fourth shadow is the over responsible one. You carry guilt that was never yours. You parent people who are grown. You pour from an empty cup or a cup with cracks. So you don't really have the emotional capacity to really be giving or parenting adults, right? Maybe you have to parent your parents. I know a lot of people that have to do that. And maybe you just don't even have it in you really to do it, yet you're doing it because there's a conditioning around that too, right? So again, that's a shadow side of the mother archetype. And then we have the silent one. You hold hurt inside because expressing it feels like too much. And you may have been told that, a lot of kids are told that at a young age, when their feelings get hurt and they're at an age appropriate level, right? When they're screaming or upset or whatever, I'll give you something to cry about, right? Well, I am crying. I'm crying about something. That's the age appropriate level to be screaming about something. So then you're taught to be quiet about it and suppress it instead of allowing that to move through you and out of you at the right age. So now what that remembered moment or wound or whatever the case may be is shoved down at that age, and that age never gets a chance to, I guess, express itself appropriately. So then what? We'll talk about that in a minute. So we're going to move into part 3, the liberation path of the mother and where she heals. We're going to talk about that, and then I'm going to pull us cards after that. So let's move into liberating our inner mother. Welcome to part 3, the liberation path of the mother, where she heals. So a couple of these, I'm going to have you repeat with me or say with me, numbers 1 and 2 in particular. Okay, so the first one is through self-nourishment. So this is an affirmation. I'd like you to say it with me. I'll say it first, and then we'll say it together. All right. I am allowed to have needs, and they matter as much as everyone else's. Okay, all together now. I am allowed to have needs, and they matter as much as everyone else's. Let's do it one more time just because we can. I am allowed to have needs, and they matter as much as everyone else's. How did that feel? Maybe for you, you're like, yeah, duh. But for some of you, maybe that feels kind of good to say, right? Or maybe you're like, yeah, hell yeah. I am allowed to have needs, damn it. You are. Don't forget that. Okay. Number 2, boundaries as sacred. All right. So you may or may not be aware, but sometimes the mother archetypal shadow can be not very clear with boundaries, right? Enmeshment can be a thing. So the affirmation here is, I love you, and this is where I end and you begin. So let's say it together. I love you, and this is where I end and you begin. One more time. I love you, and this is where I end and you begin. All right. Number 3, releasing emotional labor. You stop managing other people's feelings. Now, this can be a big one for some of you, especially if you grew up in a home where you were made to feel responsible for how everybody felt, especially your parents, right? If you were the one who basically you were responsible for how they felt. If they were having a good day, it was your fault. Or yeah, well, you were responsible for that. If they were having a bad day, it was your fault, like that kind of vibe. That can be a really, really big one to overcome. And then as you know, if you are a mom, of course, like I'm a mom, so I get like we want our kids to be happy, that's kind of a different thing. Oh, sorry about my voice. That's kind of a different thing. I'm hopeful you understand what I'm saying here. Like we're not responsible for how other people feel. That one was a really tricky one for me when a therapist said that to me once, and I was like, because I was taught the exact opposite. I was taught that I was responsible for how everybody felt. Now, I want to also be clear that though that is true, I also want to reiterate the fact that that doesn't mean that I get to go around and act and behave like a total jerk and not care how it affects others. Do you get what I mean? Like I have to be conscious still of how I show up. I still need to be conscious of the fact that I may still hurt other people's feelings. And if I do, I still need to be accountable for that. Does that make sense? So, yes, I'm not responsible for it, but at the same time, if I'm doing something that is like mean or rude or hurtful, it's up to me to hold myself accountable and say, hey, that was rude. I'm sorry. You know, that's a tight. There's a caveat there. Caveat. People say that weird. I don't know, but I hope you know what I mean. I just mean that, like, in terms of managing everybody's feelings, you don't have to worry. Like, you don't have to be like, so and so's in a bad mood. You had nothing to do with it, but you feel responsible for their bad mood. You get what I mean? So that's what I mean by that. Okay. I don't mean like don't be accountable for your shitty behavior if you've got shitty behavior. Do you get what I mean? Hopefully that made sense. Okay. Number 4, reclaim your inner child. You mother the parts of you who were never held the way you were needed. Now, I did link a meditation that I created 5 years ago in the description box. Now, I'm going to be real with you guys. This thing is 30 minutes long. It is a deep cleanse. Okay? So if you've got 30 minutes to spare, I recommend it. We go through the chakras. We go through your inner children. We do it all right? She's long. She is intense. All right? But she might be worth it. If you really want to do like a really deep, intense energy cleanse, especially like with this new year, it's there for you if you want it. Don't say I didn't warn you. Also, trigger warning, I do say God in it. If the word God does trigger you, I get it, and I am sorry for that. I was young. It's 5 years ago. No, as obviously I have a doctorate now in metaphysical science, and I've learned a little bit more about the use of that word, and I maybe should have said source, but I hope that you can forgive me for that and just replace that word with source if that's more helpful. Okay, and number 5, last but not least, choosing care from overflow, not obligation, not guilt, not survival, but overflow. So we care for others from overflow because we can, not because we feel guilty, not because we have to, and not because, our survival depends on it or whatever the case may be. All right. So that is how we liberate her. That is the path of healing for the mother archetype. I hope that was helpful. And now we are going to head into some card pulls here. We're going to pull from the Goddess Oracle first, and then the Goddess of Love Tarot, just to get some guidance on who we can work with the full moon, who can help with our inner mother. I think we'll do that. Who can help us with our inner mother archetype. And then, of course, this deck in particular gives lots of goody advice to connect with like our more erotic, sensual side as well. So that can help with pouring from an empty cup. All right. Yeah. Let's start with the Goddess Oracle first. All right. So let's see what goddess we can work with to help with our inner mother, the mother archetype. I think I'm going to stop doing that on the table because I'm not used to it. There we go. Do my little knocky knock here. Okay. What goddess would like to be worked with for the viewers? Oh, okay. Spider Woman. So she did come out in the reverse position. I do actually have a yoga practice with her as well. It's the 11:11 Leaving Your Destiny practice. You may want to go check her out. I will link it in the description box as well. She's a creation goddess, a co-creator goddess. She's a Navajo goddess as well. I'm kind of just tuning in a little bit in terms of like working with her and the mother archetype and what she's saying, right? For you in particular. And I just kind of feel this energy around the mother itself is a creator. The mother archetype is a creator. The mother she creates. That is what she does, right? And I feel like Spider Woman is telling you or asking you, what are you creating? Have you lost touch with your inner creatrix? Are you so focused on what's going on up here that you've lost touch with what you want to do in here? I feel like sometimes when we are led so much in here, our logic mind, and there's nothing wrong with the logic, we need that, right? But sometimes that can lead us, we forget what's going on in here in the heart. And with Cancer season, Cancer is such a heart-based kind of sign in general. Is Cancer led with the heart chakra? Do they rule the heart chakra? I can't fully remember. Anyway, I just feel like she's really asking you to come back to that. Come back to what it is that your heart is asking of you. She's telling you that she's there to work with you if you want to work with her. But she's also just kind of reminding you as well that you're not in this alone. I hear that. You're not in this alone. With the red, there's some root chakra stuff. There's the inner child stuff. So if there's this feeling of instability, there's this feeling of scarcity, this feeling of lack. And she understands that. She understands the fear and the concern. It's hard to create when when our nervous system is in survival mode, right? It's almost nearly impossible because how do you do that? How do you create when your nervous system is wired? So she says start small. Start with little things. I'm seeing a picture. I'm seeing in my mind's eye coloring, like a coloring book. Get yourself a coloring book if you can. Start there. And that's also connecting in with the inner child as well. But she wants you to know that your dreams are valid, they hold validity, and it's important for you. Even if you just start with writing them out, you know, like what is it that you used to dream of as a child? She wants you to get back in touch with that. Because there's a disconnect there. There's a it's this, she's a weaver. She's a dream weaver. So this isn't necessarily about taking action. This is more about weaving that dream. I'm just seeing if she has any other messages. Okay, thank you. At the bottom of the deck, we do have Isis here. And then her energy is past life. The situation involves your past life memories. So if there is an issue of the lack mentality or the lack energy, this Isis is saying, you know, this could have something to do with like a past life, you know, energy as well. It's interesting. Okay, so take this as it resonates, but I hear like Irish potato famine. There's like, you know, that I'm talking like old, like going way back ancestry wise. So it could be in your best interest to get some sort of clearing done, maybe even just listening on YouTube. Like there's free stuff you can do. You don't have to go to somebody. And, you know, this whole idea of like people break, like these people you pay endless, so much money for, break doing curse clearings, like that is just such BS. Please don't spend your money on that stuff. A curse is a pattern of thought that has run in your family for centuries, eons, whatever the case may be. And your curse breaking is changing the thought pattern. That's all that is, okay? It is a subconscious BS program that has been running in your family for decades that needs to be cleared. That's all it is. It's what it comes down to. Get yourself, download the Parrot app on your phone. It's free. Download, all you got to do is record your own voice saying, I am a limitless being with limitless potential. I am a child of the universe. I don't care. I am wealthy. I have limitless income. I don't care if you believe it or you don't believe it, okay? Put that on the Parrot app. Go to sleep at night with that playing at night. Train your subconscious to start a new story. That's all you need to do. Start telling yourself the new story. And that is how you break curses. I put that in quotes. I'm using that right, okay? Because that is how you become a generational curse breaker. That's all that is telling yourself the new story. It's a story that your family has passed on from generation to generation. It's a pattern of thought, a belief. And beliefs, all that ends up being is thoughts. Your thoughts create. Your reality eventually shows up from the thoughts you thought, thoughts you think, thoughts you thought. Does that make sense? You're like, no. Anyway, Vesta is here as well. So change the thoughts. That changes your outlook. That changes your home environment for the healthier, the healthier, the better. And then we have here Irene, peace. See, there's no need to worry. Everything is working out beautifully. Okay, I know I said one goddess and I ended up pulling like 10 of them, but they are just so lovely and I love them all. And they always have such perfect messages for us. So anyway, start with Spider Woman. Okay, I think that's where your journey begins. Again, I've linked the practice in the description box. If you want to do something to help calm the nervous system just to begin, yoga is fantastic. Yin yoga especially is fantastic. You'll have to forgive me. I just started teaching online, so I do talk kind of a lot in those ones, and I apologize, but I've gotten better the more I've done it. So there's that, okay? And then, of course, working with that energy, working with those old beliefs. Find yourself some subliminals that are better for you. If you join my emailing list too, I have a Sacred Sound vault. You wouldn't get your first email until January 10th. That one you'd become a part of. But I do have one for prosperity, and that's a subliminal in there as well. Okay. Again, you can access that down below. You just sign up for my email list. So you can call on Spider Women for help, or you can just simply follow that guidance that I've given here, okay, and start small. If the nervous system thing isn't really, true for you right now, then amazing. Maybe it's truly just a disconnect from your inner child, from those dreams that you've had. And I think it's time now for you to just simply like start dream weaving again and start getting into that mindset of like, yeah, what do I want? What is my heart calling out for? What am I ready for? And if there's anything holding you back from your past, it's time to start letting those things go. Okay. It's time to start telling yourself a new story. You can do it. Everything's working out beautifully for you, and everything will work out beautifully for you. I see it. So, that said, let's pull a couple cards here from my Goddess of Love Tarot and see what the messages are for us to fill up our own cups for this Mother Archetype. All right, so we're gonna pull. I'm gonna probably just pull one card. That's my intention from this deck, and only because I still have to use the book for this deck. It is a newer deck for me, and I love it so much because everything is feminine forward, goddess forward. For instance, like the Emperor in this deck is the sovereign, and any pages are, I think witches. So it's like the Witch of Cups, which is just like yes. So anyway, I do still use the book for these. So I think just one card is perfect. So what is the thing? What is it that we need, the viewer needs, to fill up our cup with this Mother Archetype? Ooh. All right, thank you. Ooh, the Queen of Cups. Oh my. Okay, so I'm going to cover that. You can see her. I'm just covering it up because I don't want YouTube to censor me. I don't know if I need to. I'm going to just move her here off to the side. That way, that way I won't get censored. All right, so the Queen of Cups. I don't know if I have to censor myself word-wise too, but I will just in case. All right, so there's usually an affirmation. There's a journal question with hers as well. But maybe I'll leave the journal question out since I'm about to give you like 5 more journal questions, okay? The elemental correspondence is water of water, which is perfect because we're in Cancer season, and Cancer is not Cancer season, but Cancer full moon, and Cancer is a water sign. So the Queen of Cups is the goddess of love. Like all the queens in the tarot, she corresponds to the elemental water, to intuition, feeling, and healing, to the heart, and to the ways you bloom, like a rose if you are devoted to love. Cups are also associated with water, and this queen's entire self flows in the unyielding currents of the heart. The goddess is holding you close, tending to your wounds, and reminding you that even though love brings the potential for hurt and pain, it's imperative that you open yourself up anyway. The Queen of Cups is totally guided by her heart. This doesn't mean that she ignores her head, but that she allows her instinct to have the final word. Embody her energy of seeing all life as an offering from the goddess of love. Take into your work your platonic and romantic relationships. Take it into your work, your platonic and romantic relationships, and your spiritual and magical practice. Trust in her and turn to those who live in this current for support and guidance. The affirmation is, I am an embodiment of the goddess of love. I live in her current. I am an embodiment of the goddess of love. I live in her current. So I will show that. How do I do this? One more time. I really liked this message as well because I feel like it sort of corresponded with what I picked up on with the Spider Woman in reverse, with that disconnect between the head and the heart. So it's almost like a double confirmation of getting into the heart space and living in that heart space energy. Now, I know I did talk about that mother archetype, right? And the imbalance sometimes of living a little too much in the heart and over giving, that pouring from an empty cup. So what I feel here is remembering that it's almost like with the message of the Spider Woman, you know, doing those little things that I mentioned, you know, the little things that you can do, the little dream weaving practices, the yoga or the coloring or whatever the case may be. Those are the ways that you can fill up your cup, little ways, right? And then it's like you're able to give from that place of overflow rather than obligation, right? So it's finding ways that you can give from the heart because you can, not from pressure, not because you have to, not because you feel guilty, but because you genuinely want to, because you feel cared for, because you've been able to kind of reparent yourself a little bit or give yourself that love and care that you deserve, because you're remembering, hey, I have needs too, and my needs matter, right? So these little things that you can do for yourself, not just with this full moon, but throughout life, I hope. But maybe this full moon can shed some light on those times where you want to swallow the hurt, swallow the pain, be silent, or be the good girl, be the good woman, not say anything even though it hurts your feelings, you know. This is what this is for, shedding the light on those things and getting very clear within yourself so that you can liberate yourself. Okay, so we're going to move into the journal prompts, and we'll talk a little bit about that, and then we'll end our video for the day with a little bit about the Capricorn Cancer dance, and of course our closing. All right, so our journal prompts, of course, they're in the description box, so feel free to just skip over this if you'd like. The timestamps are down there. You can just go to the next little closing piece if you'd like to do that. Otherwise, of course, you can listen to me ask the question. You can pause, write the question down, answer it as you go. However you want to do this is totally fine with me. You know, I'm just putting this out there. You don't even have to answer these if you don't want to, okay? But they are worth, I think, at least investigating a little bit, because if we don't know, how are we going to know? You know what I mean? If you know, you know. No, but it's just like this, you know, once we kind of start sniffing around a little bit in our psyche, in our shadow, that's where those ahas come in. That's where the light starts creeping in. And then you're like, oh, wow, I didn't realize I was doing that, or I didn't realize that was happening. Now I know, right? And again, it's from compassion. And I am always like, our shadows, their survival, typically they're a survival mechanism learned in childhood, and it's nothing bad. It's nothing to judge yourself about. It needs to be loved, and it needs to be integrated. That's why it's there. Okay, so anyway, that's enough about that. Let's talk about the journal prompts. There's 6 of them total. So number 1, wow. So number 1 is, where have I been giving from depletion instead of overflow? Where have I been giving from depletion instead of overflow? Question 2, who or what am I carrying that is not mine to hold? Who or what am I carrying that is not mine to hold? Question 3, what guilt can I set down now? What guilt can I set down now? Question 4. What boundary is my body begging for? What boundary is my body begging for? Question 5. How can I mother myself the way I mother others? If the word mother doesn't work for you here, feel free to change it up with nurture, care for, protect, like any one of those things, or care for, something along those lines. And the last question, where has care become a cage? And what does freedom look like? Where has care become a cage? And what does freedom look like? So take your time with those questions. You might need some more than just a couple minutes to answer it, more than just a page to answer it, And again, it's about having compassion, because it comes from a coping mechanism learned in childhood. Nothing to be embarrassed about or ashamed of at all. All right. So let's now talk about the Capricorn Cancer dance and just my little closing sentiments. All right. So let's talk a little bit about this Cancer Capricorn dance. Now, again, I just want to reiterate that right now we are in this full moon in Cancer. When you are watching this video, it may not be the full moon, okay? That does not mean that you can't still do your inner work around any imbalance with the Mother Archetype, just because we're not in the full moon in Cancer anymore, okay? That's the purpose of this video. I wanted to make it timeless for a reason, because I understand how YouTube works. It's evergreen. It's you may not come across this video until years from now, right? When we're no longer in this energy anymore. But it's just that right now, the energies are prime for working with this collective unconscious stuff, okay? This collective unconscious shadow of the Mother Archetype. It doesn't mean you can't do this in any other time in your life, or any other moment in your life when you're noticing these patterns of thought or these patterns of behaviors, okay? Truly, I really want to make that very clear. All right. But let's talk a little bit about the energies that are at play right now. So it is 2026 officially. And right now we've got the full moon in Cancer, which means that Capricorn sun is illuminating the surface of the moon. That's why we see the moon. The moon doesn't have a self-generating light, right? So Cancer shows the shadow where care has become a cage, where giving is unconscious, where love is earned through self-sacrifice, right? Capricorn illuminates a path. It's how to channel that emotional depth with intention, structure, and sovereignty. So Capricorn is showing the way, basically. Together, the energies invite emotional mastery. The lunar mother feels and knows, while Capricorn sun teaches her how to protect her energy, set boundaries, and transform giving into conscious, empowered love. This is about pairing your heart with your backbone so that care becomes a choice as opposed to obligation, and love flows without exhaustion, right? In closing, this moon is about untangling yourself from emotional roles that you may have unconsciously agreed to. It's about choosing love that nourishes you and coming home to yourself. Tonight, you don't just mother others, you mother yourself And that, babe, that is emotional sovereignty. So if you found this video helpful, I would really love it if you could give it a like and maybe subscribe to the channel. Maybe let me know in the comments. And also let me know too, like what you liked about it. That'd be helpful, because this is only the second time I've done one of these, and it's different than last month's. So any feedback is always welcomed. You know, what's a helpful criticism? Please be kind to my inner child. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. As always, I hope you had fun too. And you know what? I do have my whiteboard here. I had it. And I have markers and everything. Look. See? I had it ready to go just in case, but I don't know. I just didn't feel it this time, so I didn't use it. Maybe next time. Anyway, I really appreciate you hanging out with me, doing the inner work with me, looking at your shadows with me. I know it's not fun. I know it's not sunshine and rainbows, and sometimes it's not very sexy, but it's necessary, okay, to become whole, to become sovereign. We've got to look at the shadow. We've got to integrate the shadow. We got to love the shadow just as much as we do the light, because it is what makes us whole unto ourselves. And that is what I want for you. I want you to be sovereign in this world. I want you to think for yourself. I want you to love yourself, warts and all, because you deserve that. Okay? I think that's all I've got. So I haven't fully decided what video comes next, if it's going to be a light yin practice or if it's going to be something else that I downloaded during breathwork today, which is a healing video of the rosary and sharing with you a more matriarchal version of the rosary and how to do it. Sharing a little bit about my past as well with Catholicism. But Mother Mary came through very strongly. I did the rosary last night. And during breathwork this morning, she spoke pretty strongly to me. And so I think it might be time to share and maybe offer up a little bit of healing for some of you as well, because I know that religion can leave a bit of a wound for a lot of people. But I've always loved the rosary because it's so feminine forward. And, you know, ever since I was a little girl, I've always had a fascination with Mother Mary. I was always just like, she's so pretty. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see what happens, but there will be a video next week, and I'll keep you posted on what that video is. Lots of links in the description box below, so take a peek. I hope all of you stay well. And again, thanks for being here with me. Much love.